What's going on, folks? Let us jump into today's topic, which is objection handling with AI. This is one of the most useful things that I can think of using AI for right now because it's really easy to do. You can do it for free. You can do it in a few minutes, and it's the type of thing that hits almost every aspect of your marketing and your sales. So, what do I mean by, let's say objections? Think about that for a second. Without knowing the objections, it's really hard for you to create content or sales material or really anything that hits home with the folks that you want to speak to, right? So, in order to do this the right way, I would like to suggest that you can use AI to get into the heads of people by creating really, really deep personas almost automatically. Like literally within a few seconds, you can have something that we would have killed for as of a couple of years ago that we would never have access to, or at least not with a ton of months and months of research with real people. So of course, the best version would be having real people, real human data, real qualitative answers. But in the meantime, I'll show you how to use AI to get a pretty good sense of this. I think it's honestly 90%, if not 100% of the way there. So objections, if you can handle them, where do they hit? I'm going to be quick about this, but essentially I could see them the easiest place, obviously going to be in your FAQs, right? You could have an FAQ section that is just better. You would also have ostensibly better cold emails. You would probably have better basic content. So let's say blog, social, whatever. And then you would also probably have, let's put this down here. You also have really good lead magnets and conversion assets. So if you know that people are really focused on, maybe pricing or maybe not believing certain claims, you can then direct some of your case studies, your proof material that just kind of hits home more and more with folks. So let's keep adding this here. It really is, it kind of appears everywhere in what you're saying because it affects your messaging in a giant way. So, maybe this is in your case studies. Your case studies can be more aligned to address the specific objections that people have. So if this is, and honestly, I don't think this is even a full list, but it's a really important one. So how do we go about this? I built this custom GPT, which I'll link you to in a second, and sort of show you what I think it can do. But let's go back to here and show you this fully. So if you want to use it, just let me know. I'll drop the link, and then you can just put your URL in. It'll automatically grab the information from your website and then create an actual persona that goes through everything. But without going to my own stuff, how about just talking about structuring the right kind of prompt to get this out of any tool? Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, anything will work. So here's what I would suggest starting with. Let's go to something a little bit. So in the right kinds of objections, the things that I want to look for are things like the following. Let me use a different background. I am going to say, we want things that are emotional. We want things that are maybe rational. So qualitative, quantitative. People have all kinds of different types of objections, right? Like maybe there's something that's time-based, and maybe there's something, like this could be something like, I was burned last time I worked with someone like you. That's a common thing in the agency world. There's a lot of bad agencies out there. People have bad experiences. So how are you going to overcome that? If there's something that's a little bit more rational, like, I don't believe the numbers that you're claiming. Can you show me some sort of proof? There's something time-based, like, hey, I like all this, but now just isn't right. And then you can also have something that might be a little bit more, like, maybe this is clarity is the best way to put it. Like, for example, just don't really get it. I was talking with somebody earlier today who's a Hotjar user, and Hotjar is one of those tools, if you haven't used it, that's there in my mind mostly for conversion rate optimization. It shows you heat maps of your website and various things. I know it does more than that, but that's my experience with it. And the person who I was speaking to had a very different experience and just didn't really get to grips with what it was really supposed to do. And I think that's a big problem on Hotjar's side in terms of its own messaging. So if it has objections like this, how do you handle them? The point here is that your objections can be broken down into different categories. You can use these, you can use others, but the point is, once you surface a big list of objections with AI, you can then organize things. So continuing to work backwards here, what I want to see from AI in terms of steps is the following. I would like, let's put this here. I would want step one is identify the persona in question. So we're going to use your website and then ask it to basically extrapolate what do you think the persona is. And for the most part, it's going to be correct. I've seen it be off from time to time, but for the most part, if you have a decent website, it'll pull out the right persona. And if not, you can guide it. So step two, once you've identified the persona, what's next? You want to adopt the persona and raise objections. So what are the actual objections that it has? Step three, organize and rank the objections. And then finally here, step four is we want to create or suggest a response to each objection. And then you can get more and more information, more and more in depth. So you can basically, this already should be the structure of what you give an AI to go ahead and create this on your own if you'd like to do it in-house. Again, I'll drop the link to this, but this is what this does too. I'm going to put in my buddy Kyle's site, for example, here, Voris.com. These folks are excellent. Sales specialists who go and build in-house sales teams for tech companies. And what it does is, so it looks at the website, it'll then pull out a persona and go through all kinds of stuff here. But again, I encourage you, again, you want to use this, it's free, go ahead and try it out, but it's important for you also to understand how these things work in my mind. So it always comes back to structure. What do you actually want out of this stuff? And in my mind, if you can get this organized into 4 steps, essentially, you can get a pretty good answer. So it's still loading up. And in the meantime, while we wait for this to load, I would go ahead and say that if you can put something like this in, I'll go ahead and write a basic prompt out. I like to use prompts that are a little bit more organized and more detailed. And fun cheat code fact, you can use other AI tools to create really good prompts. Maybe that's a topic for a future time. So anyway, let's look at this. So it thought for 47 seconds and part one, the diagnosis. So here's the ICP. It's a founder or CEO of a B2B SaaS or tech-enabled services company doing in this range, and then some traction, feeling the pressure from board investors, feeling plateaued. The big change that they do is they go from founder-led, ad hoc, messy, and stressful sales motions to repeatable, data-driven GTM engine. That's the big transformation that Voris accomplishes for its clients. So with that promise being clear, well, what is going on in the skeptic's head? What's going on here to really get people to push back? And here, essentially, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this, all right? Let me get this zoomed in. And so you can see, you clearly are targeting folks like me who haven't hired a VP of sales yet. They're scared of making a big mistake, but there's zero indication of what your engagement actually costs. So basically pricing. What is pricing? It's unclear. You say you help with all this stuff, but is this a focused sales transformation or a vague, we'll do a bit of everything on revenue? Scope creep terrifies me. That's also, I think a fair pushback. So all these are very, very focused examples of objections. And again, the more specific the objection, the more addressable it is for you. And then the more really of an obligation is to you to address these things. So the objection matrix over here that I like matrices a lot, but you don't have to do this. Anyway, the point is here I've organized mine into functional, social, emotional, a couple different points, but that's maybe for a future time. So objections. So I have no idea what this actually costs. So, well, this is what the category is. Here's the deeper hangup. And then it's identified 5 very, very specific and important objections. This doesn't work fast enough, so I'm going to look stupid. Again, this is emotional and social political. They've been through all this experience. So we have a good understanding, and I think a pretty accurate one, and I'm sort of rushing through these, but you should take your time with these. These are going to be on point in almost every time I've run this type of, this specific custom GPT, and in general, these should be on point. Now, what is the actual thing that we can build to handle this objection? So I have no idea what this costs. Well, maybe we should create something like a pricing and fit page with specific archetypes and, give it some clarity. Again, this is strategic. Maybe you want to have pricing, maybe not. But in this case, this is how you would handle this. Whoops, I need to do that. Okay, how are you different from the last consultant that disappointed me? So again, this is a common thing that comes up. Well, maybe a head-to-head comparison page. I really like these. I think these are very important. But again, some people are a little bit nervous about putting these up. I think it's very strong to have this up here. You don't have to name any specific brands. It's just, hey, what are you better than the archetype that you're facing as an alternative? What does embedded T mean versus an AI mean in practice? And well, okay, maybe a visual engagement blueprint. I know this is something, I know a little insider baseball here, but I know Kyle does this on sales calls. He does have this somewhere. Maybe it's a good idea to show this off in public a little bit. And then if this doesn't work with me, it doesn't work fast, I'll lose face with my board. Well, maybe we could have something like how to explain this to your board. I like this a lot. This is a sort of a creative idea I hadn't had before. And I think this is something kind of cool that would work for a lot of times when you're selling to somebody who isn't the final decision maker, but is directly connected to the CEO and whoever's out there making decisions. So are we going to end up dependent on you? Again, I think it's a very valid objection. And then, hey, maybe this is something like a graduation plan. So what's next? What is, at the end of our engagement, what's the perfect world and what's next for you without me? I think that's a great way to sell in an honest way and something that's ethical and all that good stuff. So again, I think what I want to point out here is if you have a good idea of what is, how you want to organize things, what they will be organized into, and then ultimately where you can use them. I hope you can see how all of these objections can be really, really strong FAQs directly. They can be the topics of very good cold emails. They can go into, literally each one of these could be its own whole section of blog posts, social media posts, whatever you want to do. And then it's literally suggested a couple of lead magnets to go ahead and build. Lead magnets is maybe not the right word all the time, but it's an asset that could be used for conversion. So yeah, I guess lead magnet is the best term I have. And then if you don't have these already, if you notice that there's big objections coming up over and over again with the folks that you speak to, and maybe in some of your the deals that you lose at the finish line, if you know why you're losing them, and you can just tell literally only 2 or 3 success stories around that particular point, even one, if you can document it, you'll suddenly have something that you can bring to the table in a major way so that the next time it comes up, you can say, actually, hold on a second. Not only can I tell you this quick anecdote about how I helped company X over here, but I'll literally send you the detailed story. You can look at the numbers, you can look them up, you can look all this at all this good stuff, and then have something in hand for your sales team that they'd be really, really happy with. Because often we're asking our salespeople basically to be trapped sort of naked in a conversation, just making claims. So stuff like this really, really helps. And again, I hope you see the depth of doing something like this. Again, I'll drop this in a link so that you can grab the link to the Friction Hunter. But again, I just want to point out, you should do this on your own too. So all I did was I went in, I built a really detailed prompt, a la the stuff that I like to see. You can build your own version of this, but these are the things that go into it. So identify the persona, get the persona to start raising objections, organize and rank the objections, and then suggest a specific response to each objection. If you do this right now, my tool of choice for a lot of stuff these days, chat-wise, is Gemini. But Claude also does a very good version of things. ChatGPT does one as well. And then ultimately to deploy this, if you're going to do this as a prompt, a custom GPT is the easiest way to build this. But you can also do something on the whatchamacallit, on the front of building, a whole website with a little AI tool that's interactive basically. So do whatever works for you. If you have questions, just drop a comment and let me know. Otherwise, I hope this is helpful, and I wish you all the best in handling the objections that come your way. All right, see you later.